Hello everyone, welcome to this video on the TCS NQT 2020 subjective sample test. So it is there in the official website. So we have just tried to take the questions from that and try to show you some of the ways to solve these questions and also get you some concepts to revise. Most importantly, give you a sense of how the test has been. If you have not attempted it, we strongly recommend you to go ahead and do it in the TCS ION website. It's there, official sample subject test. And we also have launched a mini mock test series. If you have not checked this out, we would recommend you to look at it. It's available in our website gtcube.com/store. So at a very affordable price, given at 50 rupees. So that is replicated of the actual test, so it will give you a good sense before you actually take the TCS NQT test. So this video is brought to you by Learning Made Easy team, a team of IIM grads in association with our e-learning partner GTCube Get to the Top. So let's get started. So the first question, it's a very generic one, mostly to do with the operation side, operation research backdrop. So the tool that depicts progress of tasks against time is called as Mentimeter, Gantt chart, polygraph and bar chart. So the answer for it is Gantt chart. It's just a knowledge based information. So if you know the Gantt charts are like this, you write task 1, there's another task which can happen parallelly, right? I have to start task 3 after this. So it will be like a timeline sort of it where you write the tasks and how much time are they going to take and all. I hope if not, just check through what Gantt chart is. That's the answer for this question. This one is for the tree traversal, the binary tree, but then they were asking for consider following tree, but the tree is not given. So we were surprised, something was missing in this question. So what will be in order? So there are 3 types of traversals. In order is one of them. So maybe you can revise the in order and other 2 also to just get a sense of it. But the question is not complete, so we cannot solve this particular question. When we sort the given elements by using bubble sort, then in the third pass or iteration, how many comparisons should we perform? So that's what the question is asking. So how does bubble sort work? I'll show you. So bubble sort is basically done by comparing adjacent elements and moving their positions. Right, comparing adjacent elements in an array or whatever I want to sort. So start from the left, you compare 25 and 17. So this is the iteration or the pass 1. In that, let's take it as a sub part, okay? Like sub pass. There's nothing like that. I'm just saying sub iteration. I'm just giving a name like that. 1 sub iteration 1. It's like 1.1. So the first iteration done inside the major one, okay, is comparing 25 and 17. Because 25 is larger than 17, so I'm swapping things. So what happens to the sequence? It will become like this: 17, 25. They're swapped because 17 is smaller than 25. Then the rest will not be touched. They will be as it is in the array. Now the next iteration, sub iteration 2 in the first pass. Understand, we are still in the first iteration only. We are not done. We are not moving to second iteration. We reach the second iteration when we compare all the adjacent terms and then we have reached the end, right? Then we come to second pass or second iteration. So please be clear in that. Don't think this is iteration 2. This is just a sub iteration in the main one. The question is asking for the third pass or third iteration. I'll show that. So sub iteration 2 is comparing these 2. So what do I get? 25 is smaller than 31, so it will be as it is. So it will still be left like this. So this is comparison 2. The sub iteration 3 is basically comparing 31 and 13. So 13 is smaller than 31, so they will be swapped. And the sub iteration 4 is comparing the last two, 31 and 2, so it will be 2, and then 31 will be swapped because 31 is larger than 2. So 17, 25 and 13. If you observe carefully, in the first iteration of an array, when we use bubble sort, the last element will be the largest element. The rest of the things we don't know. It could be anything, okay? The order could be anything. We have not yet completed the question of sorting, but this is the situation we'll see. So basically, how many comparisons have happened in the first iteration of the pass? 4 comparisons. Maybe to make it a little bit more clear for you, I will change this iteration word, call it comparison maybe, so that it will be a bit less confusing if by any chance it's confusing for you. Right, let me call this as comparison 1, comparison 2, comparison 3 and comparison 4. So I am comparing 17 and 25 and 17 is the first comparison. The second comparison is comparing 25 and 31. The third comparison is comparing 13 and 31, and fourth comparison is comparing 31 and 2. So totally 4 comparisons are done. Now I come to a second iteration. Let me use a different color to just make it a bit more. So let's call it iteration 2. So what is the comparison 1 in this case? This is the input I'll get for the iteration 2, right? So I'll compare these two. And 17 is smaller than 25, so nothing happens. It will be as it is. Okay, so it will be 17, 25, 13, 2, 31. The next comparison is comparing these two, 25 and 13. So 13 is smaller than it, so 17 comes here and then 13 comes here, 25, 2 and 31. Then what about the third comparison? Now I will compare these two. So 2 is smaller than 25, so I will get 2 here, 25, 17 and 13. Now as I said, we will not compare the last two because it's already understood in a bubble chart that the last term after the first iteration would be the largest. So it's waste of our time to again compare these two. Right? By the end of second iteration, I am very sure that the last two terms are properly the first largest, the second largest are put up in the last two slots. Now in the iteration 3, my goal is to look at these things 17, 13, 2, 25, 31. What will be the first comparison? Will be between 17 and 13. So 13 is smaller than 17, so it will be arranged. And what will be the second comparison? It will be between 2 and 7. So it will be 13, 2 and 17. So we have 25 and 31. You see, that's it. We will not do further comparisons. Why? Because I know these two are already the largest and second largest. No point in comparing these two because I clearly know that by now these two are in the right places and this is also now sorted out after the iteration 3. So there are only two comparisons that we do in the iteration 3. So the answer for this, how many comparisons should we perform? 2. But I'll show you what will be the last iteration also. So that's the end of the sorting. So last iteration would be iteration 4, where I know that these three are already fixed in their best possible positions as per the sorting. I only compare these two. So there's only one comparison in the last iteration which is comparing that. So they will be sorted out 2, 13, 17, 25 and 31. Now everything is sorted, properly arranged in a sorted order. So if you observe, there are 4 comparisons in the first iteration, then 3 comparisons, then 2 comparisons and then 1 comparison. So that's also a sequence you'll understand in bubble sort. It will keep going down. So the answer will be 2 for this. So we are initializing an array like this. Int a of 5 is 10, 20, 30. So what will happen? So the answer for this is the last 2 elements will be 0. Right? You might think maybe it could be garbage value, but then this is how it happens in a C language. So it's basically the last 2 elements will be 0. That's the answer for this. You can check it if you want actually, right? You can just go to a compiler and then try it so that you'll understand that better if you're still confused. Then they have a question in Java, right? Frankly, we do not know the answer for it. I'm putting it for this question. We are happy if someone can help us out with the potential answer. We think maybe based on how it is written out, printing is what it's doing. So hello user and f1 should be 2. So maybe that could be hello user 2. Maybe, but this is what we are guessing. Right, but there is a chance that could be an error that might be there. Otherwise, there could be something else happening. But our understanding is by simple pseudocode sort of a logic. But none of the people in our team have an understanding of Java, so we cannot or we couldn't do this. And we are happy to take someone's help. If you have to comment it out, that will help us and the students also to know the answer for this. But this is not a sure shot answer, to be frank. Right? This is just a guess that we are doing based on how it is, but not really sure that will be the answer. A connected graph has 3 regions and 8 edges. Find the number of vertices. So this one is set onto the graph theory a bit, planar graphs. So there's a formula which connects this. Vertices minus edges plus the faces are regions, right, is equals to 2. This is the universal rule that you will see, Euler's rule for a graph, a planar graph with edges, faces are regions and vertices. So applying this, they said there are 3 regions, so that's faces basically. We have 3 faces, 8 edges. I don't know the number of vertices, that's what I need to find. It should be equals to 2. So I'll get v is equals to 7. So there are 7 vertices. So the answer should be 7 vertices for it. Right. This is the universal rule that you can apply to get it. So this is something on the basic graphs. Again, the question on Java, to be frank, out of our scope, our team scope. But there's a ternary operator that they're talking about, assuming that if you just by pseudocode logic, there's a main function our main thing, inside which they have defined a function called sample, which is basically returning based on this ternary operator. If you, this is a very common operator that you will see like this. So when I write something like this, right, if A is true, then execute B. If A is false, then execute C. That's expectation. Okay, that's the definition of this function. It will return either null or 0, and public state, the main function inside it is saying printing, calling this sample function from this. So which means it's nothing but calling this function in a way. It should be, because it's true, that's what this input is. So maybe it should be null, could be an answer, but there could also be a problem that some of the things might not be accepted by Java. Maybe you can't use the word true, maybe you can't use null and 0. We are not sure of some of the restrictions of the language, but purely on the pseudocode logic, if that's how it's happening, so this is the function getting triggered, and based on this should actually get triggered. So the true is the one which is input, because A is true, that is true is true, so it should do the first operation, which is null, so the printing should happen for the null. That's what expectation is, but again, if there is an error, it could happen or lead to one of this. If anyone knows, it's great if you can post it in the comments, so that it will help us and also the students who are not clear with this answer. So this one is again the extension of ternary operator, doesn't matter which language. So you see, this is the main block. Check this, A, question mark, and then B is to C. If A is true, then execute B. If A is false, then execute C. Right? A is true, then execute B. If A is false, then execute C. That's how it works. So now they are asking which combination of these variables would make the variable m, right, get value 4 in this. So 4 should be the assigned value, right? If you see the options, there are a couple of options where there is 4 is absent in all the variables, right? And I am only writing A, C. See, the outputs are finally A or C or B or C. Okay, m could be assigned as A or C or B or C. And if you see, these two options does not have 4 for any of the values. That means with these options you will never ever attain 4. Okay, now there are only two options that are left. Let me substitute one by one. So let's take this case. Okay, case is option 2. A is 5 and B is 4. Is this true? A is greater than B? Yes, because 5 is greater than 4. So this is true. That means this gets executed. A is equals to B is true because A is 5 and B is 4. That means this gets executed. That will lead to this part. Again, there's another internal ternary operator. So if A is greater than C, then execute C. If A is not greater than C, then execute C. So what is A? 5. And what is C? 5. So is A greater than C? No. That means this gets executed. Right? Because 5 is not greater than 5. So that means it will execute this one. So the final outcome for this would be m is equals to C, which is nothing but 5. So that's not correct. I want 4, right? So this is wrong. So now let's look at this one. Use a different color just for this. So they're saying A is 3 and B is 4. Is A greater than B? No. A greater than B is false. Right? Because 3 is not greater than 4. So that means it will execute this part. So that will lead to B is greater than C, question mark, B is to C. Is B greater than C? Yes, because 4 is greater than 2. So this is true. That means this will execute this. So finally m is assigned as B, which is nothing but 4. So that's why this case is the one which would give me m as 4 in this given operation. So they're talking about a doubly circular linked list. So a linked list doubly would be something like this. This is where the value would be whatever the linked list value you want to store, and this will be storing the address of the next linked list. This will be storing the address of the previous linked list. Right? So let's say if I have another linked list, so the memory of this block, would be stored here, and this will be storing the memory of the previous block. Right? Previous memory and the block memory's address, and then this would be the next memory block address. So that's how a doubly linked list works. Because it's a circular thing, if this is the last node, technically the right hand side will be storing the address of the first node. That's what they said. In a doubly circular linked list, what will be the contents of the right address field of the last node? This is the last node. What will be there in the right side address? It will be storing the address of the first node, right? And what will be the left one? Will be storing the address of the last but one. What will happen with the first node, for example? The right side will be storing the address of the second block, and the left one will be storing the address of the last block. That's how the circular linked list works. So for this, the answer would be address of the first node. So when we execute the given code, which character will be printed? So they are using a pointer array, right? Basically, star name basically means it's a pointer array. So what is char name? It's basically nothing but it's a array of pointers which will be pointing towards the characters, right? Like they will be storing, they will be pointing towards the characters. So whenever I do name of 2, right, star of name of 1 for example, okay, this will be nothing but, or rather name of 0 maybe, for example I'll tell you, this will be taking up A. So because this one is nothing but, as I said, it's an array. So what will be the star name as an array will be like address 1, for example, or maybe the memory block address, address 2, of all the strings that you're talking about, right? So, but because it's a character string pointer array, it won't store the string, it will only store in the first one. So this one is the address pointing towards A, and this one is the address pointing towards the D, right? Something like that. You'll have this. So when I do star of name of 0, it will not write the address, it will actually show the, so this will be the name of 0 would be this, but star of name of 0 will be pointing the value which is A. Star of name of 1 will be pointing the value D. Star of name of 2 will be pointing the value G. So we are asking star of name of 2, okay, that's G. Then if I do plus 2, I will get I as the answer. Okay, why am I getting I? Is it because this is G, H and I, so G is here, H is here, this is plus 1 plus 2? No, this is converting into ASCII, like I'm saying name of 2 will be G, so plus 1 will be H and plus 2, it's because of alphabetical order. For example, just to understand this, to just challenge you, I'll just ask you a question like this, think of it, the answer is I for this, as I said, but let me just do a minor change for this. Instead of this, let's say the thing was G, E and Y, okay, let's say something like this, G, X, Y, G, X and Y. If A, B, C, D, E, F, G, X, Y, J, K, L are the things, for what will be the output of this? That's the first one I want you to answer. Okay, what will be the output? If you want, you can also check it in the compiler, online compiler, to see what the answer would be. This is one course, what if it's GXY? The second question I want to ask for the same thing, what would have been the answer if this command was printf %c star of name of 2 plus 2? What would have been the answer for this? Okay, try this. Take this GXY only. Right, for both the questions I want to take, the third one is GXY. So this one, nothing, same question, exactly the same question. Tell me what will be the output for it. And for this one, if this line has been changed to this, what will be the answer? If I put a star and then a bracket like this. So the star is for the entire bracket. What would have been the answer for this? Right, do let us know. You can check it yourself in the compiler. You can also post the comment, so we'll answer that. You can find this out. So yep, that's two challenges that you can also see. That will give you a clarity of why the answer is I here, right? Not because of this I, trust me on that. So just be careful with this understanding. Right, so these are the questions that we have. Broadly, what I would like to talk about is just to summarize how the questions were. I was a bit surprised, to be frank. This one is not a test which would be a fair one for a non-computers and IT guys. And especially here they have put up two questions which requires you to know Java. It's less of a pseudocode. Maybe if this was an exam, I would have definitely just guessed it like pseudocode, hello user, and two. If that's an answer, okay, I think it's not a bad thing. Graph theory again is not something that most of the engineers would have touched, unless if you are from that background of CS and IT. This was C language, fine. This is fine, bubble sort, at least some amount of data structures and algorithms they've got into. Binary tree they're getting into. Then they had something on the Gantt chart, more on the project management or operation side. So one more Java question. Then this is easy. Ternary operators I can understand. This linked list, fine. Data structures, and this one is also a little bit of C language on pointers. This is fine. So they had a couple of questions on data structures, right? The linked list and the binary tree. They had a couple of questions on Java code output. Right, they had one question on the the Gantt chart, the project management wise. Then graph theory, one question, and then they had one C language question also, simple one, pointers one. Then they had a ternary operators, which is a pseudocode, fine, accepted. There's one more which is also a bit easier, basic C language. Right, yeah, I think there are, this one if you take it as algorithms, bubble sorting, that will also come as data structures and algorithms only. So maybe I can call it 3 here, and then C language is also 3. Right, so technically this is how they have set the ternary operator, the pseudo output of this program, all of that I am counting it as C. Graph theory, data structures and algorithms, bubble sort, linked list, binary trace, and then a couple of Java questions, and then a project management. So which I felt is not a fair thing for, let's say, a mechanical engineer or civil engineer. So I don't know, maybe they would have a different way of scaling it, I'm not sure, but that's what I felt. But yeah, this is what it is. So if you are taking the exam, so technically you should, I think, be conversant with at least these two things. That should be at least the fair expectation. So now let's get into the hands-on coding. We could only find one question actually in the sample test. So this was what they had. It's a very simple question. And then this part, at least the best part, is they've kept every language open for you. You can use Python, you can use Java, C++, C. So this question is doable in any of the languages. So I will do in C. I'll show you the solution in C which we have made. So this one they're talking about. First, let's understand this. Is a marathon is a long distance race with official distance of 42.195 kilometers. Usually run as a road race or foot race. A local marathon was organized in Pune. The distance actually covered by the participants has been recorded in array R. This is an array R that you have to record, which is an integer array. It's a problem that I will see here. I will come to this. Holding the values in kilometers. Okay, if there are n number of participants who started running at a particular time, then the size of array is n. The participant should cover a distance more than 0.0 kilometers and to get recorded in array R. Right, find the maximum distance covered by 3 highest racers excluding finishers. If there are only 1 or 2 racers excluding finishers, give their distances covered. So now they are saying R will be input float array. Here they said integer array, R will be an input integer array, but now here they are saying R will be an input float array. So I don't know what they wanted to say. A lot of mistakes I could see in this, but we'll keep it a little bit, we'll focus on the solution part, not on these parts. So I think because the inputs are going to be like, even the sample inputs are being the float values. So I'll stick with this. So it should be float array. Take this input array, return 3 maximum distances excluding the finishing distance, which is 42.195. So let's look at the samples one. So they are saying, let's say I am giving an input of 42.15. Okay, it took the value 42.15, 42.15, 33, this. It keep taking the value till I press Q. Once I press Q, it will terminate it. Right. So that's that's how you take the inputs. What should be the output? Highest distance excluding the finishers. So these are finishers. I should exclude these people. The rest of them have not finished. In this, who is the one who covered the maximum distance as of now? 41.2. That will be the first value. Will be the next one 40. That's the next value. And the next one is 38.9. So that's the third value. Right? That's what the output that they are expecting. So if they are giving, for example, another case like 33.33, 42.9. 39.56 minus 35.6, 40.195. The highest they did not give the output, but then I am sure you will not store this. You will not store this because it's a negative value. This is more than 42.195. You cannot have a value which is more than 42.1 because that's the official distance is 42.195. So technically they have completed the distance in a way, even if you go in that way. So I will not anyway count it. So out of the 3 remaining options, this is also excluded because it is 42.195. So as they said, if there are only 1 or 2 racers excluding finishers, give their distances only. So the output would have been 39.56, 33.33. That's it. You only show 2 values, not the 3 values, because this is more than 42.195. So not possible. You can count them. Have finished the race already. 42.195 again finish the race, and negative value I will never take as input because they said The participant should cover a distance more than 0.0 kilometers to get recorded, right? That's all the conditions. So how do you do this, right? I solve this question, or rather I see it in 3 steps, okay? There are a couple of ways solving it. I'll talk about the very standard way I think most of us would immediately think of. The first one would be, the first sub step of the challenge would be, I need to get these inputs and store them as an array, store inputs into an array. Right, whatever the inputs are given, I need to keep pushing them into an array, and then finally once I get a queue, I should stop taking it, right? That's one. Next, the immediate thing that you can think of is sort the array, right? You can write a function to sort the array. Once you sort the array, you can simply pick whether you're trying to do from largest to smallest to largest. You can just do the third step, which is to pick the top 3, excluding the finishers. Let's say if I am arranging the array from the largest to the smallest, okay? How would it work? So let's say these are the inputs that we have given, right? The first step will be making me R is an array which has 42.195, 42.195, 42.195, 33.25, then 40, 41.2, 38.9, 37.5, and I stop it. This is where the array ends because Q is to terminate. Done. This is the step 1. What should be the step 2? Now I will write a function to sort the input array into sorted array from largest to smallest. So R will become, or maybe I can store another array also. Largest would be 42.195, 42.195. Right, then I have 41.2, then I have 40, then I have 38.9, 37.5 and 33.25. This is the second step. Now I sorted it. Now I can't pick the top 3, understand, because there could be some finishers also, right? Or maybe there are not enough also. So what would I want to do is this. I would want to run a loop, for loop. Okay, so iterate from 0 to length of the array length. You can use str array length, the string length. Depending on the language, I'm just writing a pseudo code here. Just increase this I++. So I'll keep running the loop r of 0. If r of I, right, is greater than or equals to 42.195, do nothing, right? Because I just want to skip all the values, right? If else, what I would want to do is understand that is the first value, which is the largest value excluding the finishers. These are finisher. So this is the guy who actually took this, right? 41.2 is the first finisher. So I can do one thing. I can declare global variables called first, second, third, or maybe global array, so that I can push the 3 people into that array, whatever it is. So let me call, so yes, r of I is greater than 41.5. Do nothing. This one is not greater than or equals to 42.15. Okay, now I need to do something. Let's store this value into the first. Okay, now the second one will also be stored, third one will also be stored. Then I can end it. So I can write maybe another like variable like j is equals to 0. Once j becomes 2, 3, depending on how I write it, I can just stop it once I get 3 values filled. First, second and third are assigned. Then I'll stop the loop. I can end the loop, right? That's how I can write this. The other way is what I'm going to show. This is slightly, we felt that's a bit more efficient and smarter way, because sorting might not always be the smartest way depending on how the data is. So we'll show this, but then I'm not explaining the method here. I'll explain in the code itself directly. But you can try this way also and try on your own. This is most common and most used way for us, because you already know the storing the inputs, sorting the array, and then just picking the simple loop. Right. So let's get to the solution part. I'll show you the actual code that we have written. So this is the code that we've written. So first step, what we have done is we have declared global variables, okay, which is what we want to use to print the final three answers, the first, second and third, and we are assigning them to -1 for one the reason that if they are -1, which means they didn't get any reassignment done, that means there is no value for that particular variable, right? As I said, there could be only two people, right? If you see this case, you could clearly see only 39.56 and 33.33. Matlab first will be 39.56, second will be 33.33. There is no value assigned for the third, so that's why we just wanted to check that. Okay, I'll talk about this function later, update position. So let's leave that. The main function we are defining. So the first challenge is to store the inputs provided into array R, right? That's what the question says. That's the first challenge. That's what we said, right? Store the inputs into the array. So how do I do it? Because we don't know the length of the array, right? So here we assume to be 100. This is something I think the question should have been a little bit more clear. They said if n number of participants are there in the race, the array also will record all of those values if it's greater than 0. Ideally, if there was an input for number of participants, that would have been more a better way, but anyways they have not given us that. So we just thought let's pick a bigger number, right? Just took a bigger array length. So can it be 1000? Yes, it's all about memory allocation and optimizations and all, but this should be a fine balance for now. Then we have also stored input. We have declared a variable called char for the input. Why are we taking it as a char, not float? I'll come to that, right? So understand these three variables are declared. One is I is 0 integer, then there's a character defined input. It's an array, character array, input of length 20, and then float is also an array of 100. So we are doing a while loop. So we want to keep running the loop till we get q as input, right? Once we get q as input, we'll stop the loop. Till then we need to keep taking the inputs and then store them in our array, right? That's how, because I don't know the length, right? Maybe I might give you these many values, I might give you 5 values, I might give you 2 values, we don't know that. So the system should be dynamic to take it. That's why we are doing the simple while loop. So scanf %s, and then because it's a character, we are just doing input. We are not using ampersand, we are directly saying input, right? So we can always do, when I do at least coding, I always break down the problem into smaller chunks. Like this is the step 1 for me, right? I wouldn't have written all of this, okay? None of this was written by then. Right, then all I would do is simply check this. What am I checking? I'm just checking if I'm actually recording the inputs properly. Okay. So here I'm just checking if I'm able to. So there will be infinite loop in here for this. Technically, we are not ending the loop at all. So I was just checking if input. I know it's a very basic check, but sometimes I do it, right, to just see if everything is good. Right, so this one will keep on going into a loop, right? I keep taking it, it keeps running it. For example, if I just run this, right, I give 20 as input, it will throw 20 to me, and then it waits for me next input. I put 30 as input, then it will throw me 30 next, right? So this means it's taking input well. It's a character that I am taking, but it's working out. Okay, great. Now what I'll do is I will check this one. What is that? Once I get the input, I'm just checking if this input is equals to q, because it's a character, it's a string character array basically. When you're entering q, it's only the first alphabet will be q, so that's why I'm checking if it is q. If it is q, then end the loop, break it. Else, now let's do what I'm supposed to do. What should I do if the input is not q? Take the value, okay, check if it is more than 0, because as they said, we only take the values which are more than 0, right? That's what they said. The participant should cover a distance more than 0.0 to get recorded in array. So if it's a negative value, I am skipping it, right? I just want to make sure that maybe we have written such a way that we are also skipping more than 42.195, but we can exclude this if you want, right? The question was not clear. The race is only up to 42.195. Why would someone do it? I mean, the way that the line was written, we would have excluded 42.9 because it's more than it. But maybe if you still want to stick to it, not all a problem, right? So this is also fine. but you can stick with this also. Either of them is fine. Now what is this A2F? It's basically converting a character to a float value, right? So we had to do this. It took a bit of maybe like 30 to seconds to 1 minute for me to figure this out actually. How do we convert, how do we end the input? Because if you start taking it as a float array, it will go well till this point, okay? Like you 42.15, 42.15 and all of that. But how do I compare Q? If I enter Q, how would it, take that as Q as input? What am I saying? I'll show you this, right? Maybe I'll just comment out this to show you. Maybe it's not completely correct to say it took me 1 minute. It took me maybe more than 2-3 minutes because I had to write this and then figure this out. But then once I thought I got this, it took me a minute to figure out the alternative. What am I talking about, right? Let's say if instead of taking this, I take the input as also a float. Because that was the first thought I got, because hey, the arrays, the timelines are all, float value, so I can't have the input like float. Okay, so this looks fine. Yeah, because of this, my bad. Because it's a float, I should write it as float. There's also one more mistake, that ampersand should be there. Right, let's say if I just run this, and if I do 20, great, 30, 30.00, 30.82, it'll show me the same. Okay, it's all good. But what if I do Q? It'll throw 0 for me. It's just running into the loop without understanding what to do, right? I think this is all a bit messed up. Great. So right, so that does not understand Q, what Q is. So then we thought, okay, let's store it as characters. Even the float values 40.2 can be stored as a string, 40.25, right? And then we will simply convert it into a float once we confirm that it is not Q. That's what we are doing here. If it's 42.95, till this step it is simply a string, it's not a float. Okay, but once we know that it's a proper number, we are trying to convert into A2F, and then we are storing it into the array, right? Here we are doing the store as the input is of decimal or a float value and is greater than 0 and less than 42.195, less than or equals to, maybe to be more precise. I'm doing this to convert into this one. Okay, now I'm pushing into the array. So I, r of I, basically I was 0 initially, so we are just incrementing it, then we are making it I plus plus. Right, now once we know that we have also pushed this value, so I'll keep this comment out now for now, because this won't this is a bit jumping the guns. If I just do this from here, right, let's say the array has, the loop has ended here, I can do a simple printf. I know I would not print the entire array, I have to run a loop for it to print it. Maybe I'll just do it. So we got these values 20 point something, 30 point and 1.2. Then we all got 0 zeros because we were declaring a big length of 100, right? For that reason the R would be with a lot of, I could have run this also, like I could have done something like if and only if R of I is greater than 0, right? Then only print this, don't print otherwise. That way I could have saved those large numbers that we're talking about. Something happened, let me just, okay. Everything right, but they're still printing that large values. Right, so at least I checked and I found out okay, everything is working fine. So we'll just comment this out. Not required, I was just showing you something which is not really required for this question. So now let's jump into the one which I was talking about. Now instead of doing the sorting, right, like what I was explaining here, we could do this sort, write a function and sort them once we store the array, and then keep running a loop to see if the value is something like this. Then only you take the values once you arrange them. So instead of that, we have done slightly different way. You could also do that way if you're more comfortable with it. This is slightly different just to learn, just we just got a different idea, so we're just showing you this. So this one, if you see this, we have written a function called update positions. What we're trying to do is this, okay, we have declared a global variable first, second and third. I'll show you with an example, maybe that will help you understand this better. Let's say that there's a variable called first, there's a variable called second, and there's a variable called third, right? All of them are -1 as per the global variables, right? So now what we have written is a function called update positions. Okay, this will take an input which is a value. Okay, one value is taken in it as input. What is this function doing is this, I'll tell you. So for example, let's say user put a value called 30.2. This is the first input, okay? What we are doing to do is we get this value and we see if this is greater than this value. Okay, if 30.2 is greater than -1, the first value, first is -1, so yes, this is indeed greater than -1. So automatically then what we're doing is forget about this, actually whatever the first value is, right? So what we're trying to say is if this input or this value whatever we're sending is greater than a, that means whatever is coming now is greater than the first, my bad, then we will change the first value to second. Now what happens in this case, second is equals to first. That means assign whatever is there in the first to the second. Okay, why are we doing it? I'll explain it. Now I'll do this. Before that we should do one more thing, my bad. We'll first assign third. Basically it's not pushing down everything like a stack. That's how you're putting down everything down. So you're pushing this to this and this to this to make sure that you don't forget the things. What I'm trying to do is first I'll do third is equals to second. So this will also become -1 because I'm getting this value, and second becomes first. Okay, this value is assigned here, and now first is nothing but the value that we come. Why are we doing all of these shifts? Because I got a new value into this pool which is greater than the largest value first. Okay, so 30.2 came, so 30.2 sits here. The -1 comes to second, this -1 comes to third, and the third is, this value is forgotten because now this is not in the top 3. Now let's say the second input has been entered by user, which is 40. Okay, again the comparison happens. Is 40 greater than 30.2? Yes, indeed. So what happens? -1 comes here, I forget this value, 30.2 comes to second because there is a new first ranker here, that is 40. Let's say the third input is 35. What should I do? Is the value greater than first? No, 35 is not greater than first. So we will not end here, right? There will be else if this value is greater than second. Okay, maybe it's not greater than the first, maybe it's not worthy of becoming the top, but maybe it can become second. Yes, it can indeed, right? So if the value is greater than second, what I'll do is simply replace the second to third. The third becomes second, that is, I'm only writing this one. That is 30.2 is pushed to this. First place is untouched, and the second will take the new value, which is the value. So second is none other than the value. That is 35. Imagine now input 4 is 33. Is 33 greater than the first value? No. Is 33 greater than the second? No. But is 33 greater than third? Yes. So it should be removed and this should come, right? So we should write last else if the value is not greater than the first, second, but is still greater than third, right? I'm happily replacing the third value with the new value. That's it. Nothing else gets changed. This is not changed. This is not changed, but this is forgotten and I am replacing with the 33. Now we got the top 3. Let's say I am doing input 5, which is 20 only. Is this value greater than first? No. Is this value greater than second? No. Is the value greater than third? No. So nothing happens, right? I'll forget this value. It's irrelevant for our story, that because I only need to pick the top 3. Now let's say I pick a input 5, which is 42.195. This value should not pass into this function because I don't want to show the finishers, right? That's what we have taken the care of. But the update position function is basically this. When a value is taken as an input, that is a new input, it checks with the first, second and third. If it's greater than the first, everything is pushed to the next places, and the first place is new, first place is taken up, new value. If the new value is not greater than first but greater than second, then the first is unchanged, but the second is shifted to third, third is forgotten, and the new value will become the undisputed second. And if the new value is not greater than first, not greater than second, but greater than third, then automatically I will not touch the first, second, but the third are swapped or removed. The old value was removed and new undisputed third person has come, right? So that's how we have written this, right? So you can check this again if you're confused. So I'll show you in the code how we have written it, right? So the update function positions is this function. We are taking one value, we call it A, that's a new input that has been entered. If this value is greater than or equals to first, okay, then as I said, the second is pushed to third, the initial first is pushed to second, and the new first becomes this value. If this value is not greater than first but then greater than or equals to second, then the second is pushed to initial, second is pushed to new third, and initial second is replaced with the new value, and if A is greater than or equals to third, then third is replaced with A, right? This is the function. Okay, so we are using this function over here. If the value you have given, the user that has been inputted, is fair enough, it's greater than 0 and less than or equals to 41.5, I am storing it into the array. But this is not really the worry for us because the output is completely based on the top 3 positions only. But then for output, I want this to be less than 42.195. I can't accept the values which are equals to 42.195. So we only write this update positions by putting this as input. So now I have updated it. Now everything is solved. Now we are able to figure out the top 3. Now our goal is to print them. So we am just running a simple loops here. It's a basic cosmetic thing, nothing big in this. So this loop was not required. This was something additional I have written earlier. Okay, so this one. So I was just trying to do something like this. I don't know how important it is, but ideally it should not be a big deal. But it's not a big problem either to do. Like this square brackets and then comma separated bit. I've just written this over here. Right. Start with the square bracket and then do all of this. Okay. So if the first value is not equals to -1, that means the first value is assigned. It might happen there are only 2, right? We can only give print of 2. Then first and second would be assigned. The third would still be -1. So in that case, I should not print the third one. So right, this is the entire code we have written. So let me run this. So I'll show you the cases like this. Let's do this 42.195, 33.25, etc. So I do 42.195, 42.195, 42.195, 38 maybe, I don't know, whatever the values are. I'll just randomly put 33.25, 41.25, 40.87, 39, or let me do minus also, and let me do 43 also, right? Then I'll do 34. Let me check Q, and then I'll do what do you think would be the output? If you see, the top 3 excluding the finishers would be 41.25, 40.87, and then I see 39 for now, right? That's it. These are the 3. 43 is not included, minus 10. Let's see if we got them values. 41.25, 40.86, and 39. Right? These are the 3 values that are the top 3. That's the output that the question is asking, right? So this is how you can wrong code. Yeah, this is how you can do this particular question, the hands-on coding part. We couldn't see the second question. If we have the question, maybe we can post it. We'll see if we can solve it. But I think this can give you a good sense. And we have tried to pick similar questions in our mocks also, where we have given questions. So if you see the questions, it could have been put up in a simple manner, saying that take some input into an array float, and then just pick the top 3 excluding certain values. Instead of that, they gave a nice story around it. This is how most of the questions are. Basically, if you read the question and understand the lines properly, the challenge would be simply solving a couple of simple standard questions that you are used to, right? Store inputs into a dynamic length, right? And then sort the array, pick the top 3. It's a super thing, but it's just about breaking down the problem into simpler things. I hope it was a useful one. So thanks a lot for watching this. Do follow us, subscribe to us, check out other videos that we have. We have a TCS mock series, as I said, in our official website. It will give you a good sense. If you have not yet tried, do try it. It's affordable for only 50 rupees. So very affordable, and we're giving you 2 mock tests. So thanks a lot. I hope it was helpful, and wish to make more videos that could help you guys for other companies and other things. You can post in comments if you need any specific things. We'll try to come up with more relevant videos to help you guys. Thanks a lot, and all the best.